Dear fellow Canadian, to this formidable journey of the Commission, I've learned a lot, and there's a few lessons that I've learned that I'd like to share with you today. I'll start with an ode to truth and integrity. Collectively, we've been paying too much difference to our material comfort and not enough to truth. Accommodation with half-truths, lies by omission, blatant lies, or complacent silence has created a culture in which the institutions have gradually rotted from within. The COVID-19 crisis has revealed that our Western society are on the slippery slope towards totalitarianism that cannot happen without the consent and the active participation of the governed. We are all responsible for what's happening one way or another. Restoring a vibrant culture of accountability thriving on truth is the only way to rebuild the most important asset of a prosperous and benevolent society: trust. Trust cannot be demanded. It has to be earned by speaking truth and acting with integrity. One of the gravest dangers to democracy is the tyranny of the majority that has forgotten the primordial importance of truth and liberty, grounded in the individual responsibility that cannot and should not be outsourced to the administrative state. Unless a true safe space is created for the flourishment of new ideas, freely challenged by rigorous scientific debates, society will eventually crumble in obsolescence. When society is in a constant state of crisis, one has to question the competence and/or the motive of the ruling class, including the administrative state. We have to protect as sacred the pact and the institution that have been used for centuries in the rigorous scientific process. Money and institution should not facilitate this process, not subjugate it. People working as unelected officials in the administrative state should not end up being the master of our destiny, but rather the civil servant of the institution at the service of the people. We are learning the hard way that institutions which become dysfunctional can and will fail us when we need them the most. As engaged citizens, we must embark and take part in a major reform of our institution and not leave it to the elusive others. Let's not be discouraged by the magnitude of the task at hand. We owe it all to our children and grandchildren. Is the administrative state benevolent or guilty of malfeasance? As the famous late Nobel laureate physicist Stephen Hawking judiciously said, "The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge." In Canada, the administrative state used the illusion of knowledge to maintain its power. This was evident throughout the 3-year COVID-19 experience, when bureaucrats and administrators alike were portrayed as all-powerful. However, this is only an image accomplished through an elaborate and inextricably intertwined web of deceit. Meanwhile, politicians were more than happy to impose popular but ill-advised, half-baked health measures, justifying these emergency policy as well-intended measure to protect public health. Sadly, the majority of people succumbed to the measure out of fear, lack of unbiased and objective information, and questionable trust in long-standing institutions. In this context, as long as people perceive benefit from the government narrative, everything will be done to protect the illusion of the effectiveness of the ill-advised health measure. But as we witness it, the administrative state, in order to achieve this end, rely on poor modeling and statistic full of omission, whilst ignoring scientific knowledge and understanding. The administrator also dismissed the wisdom of true experts who have credentials considerably above the pretended expertise of technocrats who systematically censor any dissenting voice who threaten their authority. This is best illustrated by numerous accounts of the ignorance of epidemiology, their ineffective and unfitting non-pharmaceutical intervention, their willful ignorance of state-of-the-art medical practice, and last but not least, their superficial knowledge of the intricacy of the immune system. The only way out of this conundrum is through our constitutionally protected freedom of speech, wherein widely held beliefs, thoughts, and opinions are respected, and likewise, conversation, debates, and dissenting voice are heard. This should be particularly true in the scientific and medical professions. We know the very essence of society is human interaction and embedded therein, relationships. As human society thrive on narrative that present distorted view of reality and define culture according to unwritten rules, new narrative need to emerge. These are particularly critical when society faces a major crisis, like the pandemic. Sometimes, low-resolution representation of reality need to be updated and subsequently redefined by rigorous debate to orient better decision-making and implement better solutions to vexing problems going forward. This report is an attempt to craft a more balanced and objective narrative based on the hundreds of testimony heard during the 24 days of hearing across Canada. Why? Because Canadians deserve to hear the concern raised and to forge their own informed opinions regarding the health crisis we have just faced, including the appropriateness of the mitigation measure used by government authority. It will be up to the reader to determine for themselves whether this new narrative is a more comprehensive representation of reality than the messaging delivered by the government and the mainstream media during the past 3 years. This report examined the health, civil, economic, and societal issue resulting from the COVID-19 response. The report also makes specific recommendations to improve the management of any future health crisis. Our report focuses on answering questions that are in the realm of scientific and forensic investigation. What happened? How did it happen? And although the why deserve attention too, the commissioner have determined that it is beyond the scope of this investigation. It is for this reason that the commissioner have agreed to abide by the witnesses' testimony to the best of their ability, seeking the truth. These are the truths we have sought throughout the hearings. Moreover, by engaging in this cross-country experience, we can come together as a nation, restoring the very principle and freedoms that has defined Canada since 1867. Recommendations. Considering the critical reliance of our modern society on science and technology, there is a need to distinguish knowledge derived from rigorous scientific method from beliefs often influenced by ideology and propaganda. To help distinguish between these two, we recommend the following. Number one, basic training in epistemology and critical thinking should be incorporated in both humanity and scientific or technological education curricula. Two, experts who participate in public forums should undergo strict scrutiny based on the following three fundamental criteria. First, demonstrated cutting-edge knowledge and expertise as evidenced by their involvement in past or ongoing scientific research, providing proof of their understanding of the subject matter under discussion. Secondly, lack of conflict of interest. And finally, willingness to engage in evidence-based public debate with other experts who may hold different opinions, using rhetoric that avoids ad hominem attacks, appeals to authority, or invoking the so-called scientific consensus. In closing, implementing any of our recommendations will be an uphill battle. Even though people sharing the view of this report are still a minority, we are witnessing a steady growth in the number of people that are raising their awareness level. And once we know, we can no longer unknow. And the truth will set us free.